I've entitled this video, How 1984 Might Change Your Life, and I'll save you listening to the next 3 minutes if you're pressed for time. The way that this book can change your life is if you take the time to sit down in silence and read it, which most people haven't done. You'll hear lots of people speaking about how the modern times are Orwellian, or this is just like 1984. But what most of these people haven't done is sat down and read the book in silence. At best, what they've done is they've bought the book and it's been delivered to their house and they've read the first chapter. Or maybe they've listened to the audio book. But in terms of sitting down and reading the book and thinking about it while reading it, most people don't do that because most people are too busy. Of course, we're all too busy. The truth is, I've got dozens, if not hundreds of books that I should have read, and I tell myself I'm too busy. But realistically, I'm just not setting aside the time to read the books. I don't put aside the time that I should to read the books that I should. But I'm thankful that once upon a time I did set aside some time to read 1984, and it changed my life. And I want to read you a passage here from pretty far into the book, actually. This is from page 193 of this particular ebook version. The version that I read was a paperback, but this is just the ebook. Let me read this to you, and you'll see where I'm going with this. In some ways, she, Julia, Winston's kind of like lady friend, was more acute than Winston and far less susceptible to party propaganda. Once, when he happened in some connection to mention the war against Eurasia, she startled him by saying casually that, in her opinion, the war was not happening. The rocket bombs which fell daily on London were probably fired by the government of Oceania itself just to keep the people frightened. This was an idea that had literally never occurred to him, never occurred to Winston. The key line from that passage for me is, this was an idea that had literally never occurred to him. And I think this is the case with most people. The idea that war is a hoax, that the war is not happening, this hasn't occurred to people. So when they hear that millions of people died in World War II, for instance, someone like me comes along and says, yeah, but do you really believe millions of people died on the battlefield? When they react to me, they're not reacting to, oh, well, I've considered that and I've gone and looked for the evidence and I've found the evidence and I've scrutinized it and I've thought about counter ideas and this is what I've come up with and here's why you're wrong. No, they're reacting to an idea they've never even considered. It's never even crossed their puny little brains that the war didn't happen or that the numbers have been fabricated. World War II was, 70 years ago now? Yeah, 70, 80 years ago now. And people know that the government today is lying. They know they're changing the story. They know that the textbooks are constantly being updated. No one's double checking any of this stuff. So it should be obvious that it's at least possible that we're being lied to about the death tellers and about what really happened. That should be obvious, and yet to most people, the idea doesn't even occur to them. Just as it didn't occur to Winston in 1984. Now, why am I telling all of you this? Well, I was fortunate enough this evening when I was going for my evening walk, and at the moment I'm in Saigon, so I was walking around the streets of inner Saigon, just walking around listening to a podcast, and I was listening for the first time to this podcast. This is 1984 Reflections Part 1. So what the two gentlemen involved in this podcast have done, Dipey and Salzburg Gold. Dipey is from Jersey in the British Channel, it's the UK Channel or something, sort of in between England and France. And Salzburg Gold is from North Dakota in the US. So what these two gentlemen have done is they've got together and they've said, let's discuss the first chapter of 1984. And apparently they plan to make this a series. And I didn't edit this call, which means that when I listened to it, I was literally listening for the first time and it blew me away. This is fantastic work, you guys, and TNG for editing it. This is amazing, really. For the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh, I'm going to write down some notes to leave a comment. There was too much for me to comment on. I'm going to sit down and listen again to take some comments to leave in the comments section for you. This is brilliant work. So what it's inspired me to do is to make this video and to say what I'm going to do is make available for free the member call that we did last year on 1984. Now, in this call, myself and Chad from California, we discussed the book in its entirety. So it was about a 2-hour call, I think. Let's have a look here. Yeah, almost exactly 2 hours. And we went through, I guess, gave an overview of the whole book, whereas what Dipey and Salzburg are doing is going chapter by chapter. So their series will be far more in depth as they go through it. But we just gave a 2-hour overview, myself and Chad, and we spoke about some of the themes of the book. Now, this is a member call that's usually only available to the members of johnlebon.com, but like I said, I'm going to make this available to everybody. I'll send it out to the mailing list. So if you want access to this, just go to johnlebon.com and go to the mailing list and sign up. All you need is an email address and a first name. You can just make up the first name, it doesn't matter. That's just how the plugin works. But put in your details, sign up, and I'll send this out maybe in 2 days' time. That should give you time to join the mailing list, and that's completely free. So I'll send a link to this call. Like I said, normally only for members. If you're already a member of johnlebon.com, go and check this out. This is, like I said, a piece that I had nothing to do with. This was Diape and Salzberg recording their own call, T&G editing it, and this is just a treasure for me because, like I said, I can listen to this completely fresh and just enjoy it for what it is. Most of the calls on the website, I'm part of the call and I have to edit it. So by the time it comes time to listen to it, there's no surprises for me. But this one, yeah, like I said, this is marvelous stuff. So once again, let me just recap the ideas here. This book, 1984, if you want to get the most out of it, you've got to read it and you've got to think about it. But we're all guilty of not reading enough, me included. This is a book that's definitely worth reading. If you can't do that, at the very least, listen to people who have read it and who are thinking about it. If you're a member of johnlebon.com, go and check this piece out. I published it yesterday. Like I said, brilliant work from these guys. I'm looking forward to the rest of the series. They said they want to invite me to be part of the series. I'm like, no, you guys do it. I want to just enjoy it. I want to just sit back and enjoy the magic that you guys are doing. This is fantastic. And then for you guys out there, if you're not a member of johnlebon.com, I will send you out a mailing list email with a link to this call that you can download for free in full. And myself and Chad go through the whole book in 2 hours, give our views on it, and I intersperse some clips from the audiobook as well to emphasize certain points. So this one's free. Join the mailing list. That's free. This one's just for members. Well done once again to the guys who did that. And yeah, war's a hoax, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. And it's all there in the book. And the reason why you don't hear people talking about this is because people don't read the book. They pretend they've read the book. They tell themselves they're going to read the book, but they're not going to read the book. If you read the book, it's all in there. Wow, what a time to be alive. On the 13th of August, 2019, John LeBon signing off. Make sure you check the links in the info box below. Thanks once again to Diape, to T&G, and to Salzberg Gold. And until next time, you guys, take care of yourselves. Oh, and by the way, war's a hoax. Nobody died, nobody got hurt, period. That's a fact.